with the municipal clerk and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 24th, 2020. You all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, you get that little message. I'm going to get let me get the flag and share. Right. There we go. All right. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To share. All right, so we will go right to our candidates. Vacancy. We have 3 candidates that the Bernardsville Democrat Committee has submitted. Thank you for getting them to us for this meeting, Bob. We appreciate it. And I think, well, let's see, you gave them due in the order you gave them to us in. So, well, oh, you got 2. We got 2 together there. There we are.
We're sharing a home office today, so we figured we'd just continue this evening. So.
So let's start with Christine. Christina, yes. Where are you?
I'm right here.
Okay. So just to kind of get us started, as you know, council is very similar to a board of directors. You know, we really are the council is really like the legislative branch of the government. So it's different than, you know, like a PTA or anything like that. This is more of the, you know, the policy setting. We're not so much hands-on as we are really reviewing all about, you know, how we do government here. So if you could just maybe give us a little background on who you are and why you would like to be on the council.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everybody for the time today. So my name is Christina Ballas. I have currently my role at work is I'm a director of operations and I set strategy for Coldwell Banker Commercial. I work for Realogy, which is a big real estate holding company and conglomerate. I work both on the franchising side as well as on the company owned. So I'm quite used to setting policies and strategy with trying to influence people to kind of do what's best for their companies, but by no means is it ruled by law. So since it's a franchising company, you try to build the best case, get consensus, and then try to have other people either administer or, you know, take on that responsibility to make the best decision for their own company. So in that regard, I'm quite used to that sort of setup. The reason why I want to join council and, you know, not just this 4 months, but obviously I'm running again in November. I mean, I care just deeply about the community that I'm in. I have 2 small children. I have one that just started in Bedwell. She'll be in 2nd grade. She started in kindergarten, and I have a little one in pre-K. So this is our forever home. And I thought what better way than to, you know, help shape the community that I'm a part of than to be involved. And I so often feel like people have opinions and, you know, everybody obviously has opinions, but not a lot of people take that into action. And I very much believe in taking action where you're passionate, and the town is where I'm passionate. Part of what I'd love to do while, you know, if I'm given the opportunity to be on the council is to try and inspire others to also volunteer more and participate more in government in a really inclusive way. And I'm really passionate about people participating and, you know, not just having opinions, but doing something about it. So that is, this is me doing something about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just, you know, I sometimes as a council, what the goal is to serve the entire community. You know, we often get small interest groups that, you know, have a complaint or have an issue that they really want us to do. And it's difficult, but necessary to look for, you know, what's the best for the community, not a particular group. Have you ever had to deal with that kind of issue before in having to say no to somebody because, you know, even though you'd really like to help them, but there's a bigger issue at stake.
Yeah, twofold. So one, probably every day helping running a household. there's always that, right? Like the greater good for the household rather than certain people's wants or needs. So there's that. But then, of course, not to make my work really the front and center, but I do that daily. I'm really in charge of building consensus across multiple organizations. I'm in, like I said, I lead strategy from an ops perspective, but I work along lines of, marketing and, legal, ethics, et cetera. And so what I do every day is meeting with different groups of people that have different interests. But at the end of the day, it's about the client and what serves them best. And so we have to come to that agreement, and there's always compromise in mind. And as long as you stay focused on, what the end goal is and kind of your mission and vision, it keeps you grounded in making the best decision as a group. So I would say I'm comfortable doing that on a daily basis.
Great. Just, in general, what do you see is the future of Bernardsville? I mean, how would you like to see Bernardsville evolve?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's easy to pick apart things that you wish you do better, but I would say more of the best parts of the town, right? There's so much wonderful things about this town. It's why we moved here, right? Like the downtown was a huge draw for us, and so how does that get better and keep moving forward? The school systems are great. How do we make sure that the school system feels supported by the council, and how does that liaisonship get better? So it's not so much what can we take over and just change to make it look like X, Y, or Z, but this town has so much character and history and all those things that make it so absolutely lovely. And I just want to be part of the way to keep moving that in a positive direction, with staying really true to who the town is, and just being authentic, trying to find the best authentic pieces of the town and enhancing that so everyone can participate in it. That would be my dream.
Thank you. Any other council members, questions? Somebody else want to ask something?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying to eat dinner here. Christine, question for you on the primary, the whole coffee gate thing when you delivered coffee to.
Oh, sure. I didn't know it was called coffee
gate. What did anything ever come of that? I know a complaint was filed. I'm just curious, how that was resolved or not.
I got a phone call and was told that I could not volunteer and help delivering coffee. I didn't realize I actually did not know it was called Coffee Gate. That's really funny. I've kind of been left out of the loop.
I just coined that. I just, just free.
Oh, you just coined
Maryland, so close to all that stuff right now.
Got it. If you'd like an explanation, I can tell you. A friend of mine works the polls, sent a note out and said, can anybody deliver the free coffee from Starbucks? And I have a flexible work arrangement because I work from home. And I said, I don't have a meeting right now. I can do that. So I went and did that. I did not think I did anything wrong. And I clearly was told that I shouldn't do that next time. And I said, no problem. If anybody else wants to deliver it, or if I don't run next time, I'm happy to as an average citizen. But I thought I was acting just as an average citizen. So yeah, that's it.
Anyone else have a question? Jeff?
Can you tell us about whatever the committees, community organizations or borough committees that you serve on or have served on?
Yeah, I volunteered with Mary Jane when she first initiated the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and now I think it was a council, and now it's a committee. We're not government related. Obviously, you guys know that more than I do at this point, but that was the first thing that I joined with all of what was going on in the unrest, and it was touching to me to have our mayor kind of go out there and say she wanted to start this committee, and it was a great way for me to feel connected to the town in a time that was really uncertain, and I'm grateful for that opportunity, and I try my best on that. And then, in the beginning of the year, when the vaccines started becoming available, I felt like there was a little bit of could be vaccine hesitancy we were hearing about, and so I tapped you, Councilman Jeff, to kind of help lead just info sessions and just openly moderated those calls for the whole community and the town, and just to try to make sure that we all got back to normalcy, because obviously we were all craving that in the beginning of the year. So that was my biggest parts. And then obviously I try to help out as much as possible with the schools. I'm not on the PTA, but anytime our moms ask or parents ask for anything, I try to volunteer as much as possible there.
Have you been, obviously the hot topic is the downtown revitalization. Have you been to any of the town halls or the committee meetings or downtown Bernardsville activities or anything, things of those nature?
Yes, I have been. I actually, joined the design committee, but I will say, because downtown Bernardsville is really active and trying to make sure it's apolitical, and didn't want kind of that to be misstrued, I said that I would be kind of quietly in the background helping as I could, but I wouldn't be front and center since I was a candidate for November. I didn't want to make my involvement seem like I was politicizing downtown Bernardsville, but I care deeply about our downtown efforts. And, I go to the meetings, I get the invites, my kids helped paint the mural. I'm super passionate about it, but I'll probably wait till after the election to kind of be more full force on that. And I guess for issues like Coffeegate, when you're not aware that sometimes what you do in good faith might be perceived negatively, I just wanted to keep the downtown Bernardsville really pure with their efforts and not have my candidacy, possibly compromise that. So I am involved, but quietly.
I have a question. Christina, hi, I'm Gina.
Hi.
I don't believe we've met. So do you believe that we need to do more borrowing to improve anything that we need to do in town, whether it's roads or any other investment?
I tend to be in the favor of not borrowing more funds, but it really depends on kind of getting a full view of everything that's available for the budget. So it's, I think, easy for probably a candidate to say, no, we shouldn't, because everybody obviously tends to think that that's a negative. I think what's really important is to make sure we maintain the AAA rating and our, in that sort of way, our standing. But I would have to really dive deep into the books to give a better answer to that. But in general, no, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Question?
I can ask another one about finances.
Sure.
Just from a tax perspective, Christina, are you in favor of, keeping taxes at the same rate or higher or lower?
I mean, it would be amazing to say that we could have a lower tax rate, but I can't imagine that tends to happen too often. I will say the lower tax rate of our town, and I know it's all a matter of perspective, but compared to other towns that my husband and I were looking to move to, and from where we came from previously, it's actually pretty great in comparative to like towns. So it was actually a draw for me to come to this town. So I would say I would like to maintain it. I mean, it's an easy answer to say, oh yeah, we should lower taxes, but I don't know how, that I'm imagining that other services would kind of take a hit then if you lower taxes. So I would say maintaining what we currently have is probably the prudent thing.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to ask if it was lower, what would you cut?
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things, there is a time commitment to being on the council. Besides just the 2 meetings a month, we have council committees, 4 different ones, and each council person usually serves on 2 of those. There's, what do we call it now, Jeff? Government and personnel. No, what is it?
Personnel and government operations.
That's it. Okay, and finance, public safety, and then public works. And then we also ask our council people to be a liaison to some of our other boards and committees. Not, an active member, but there to, bring information back and forth. So those are more meetings as well. So besides, meeting the time commitment, can you do that? And second, any particular boards or committees you would be interested in?
Great question. Well, just like, I don't know, but you would imagine that for any household to run, there's got to be lots of support. So my husband's all in with me, jumping in and being involved, and he knows pretty much how many meetings. I did a little bit of homework before deciding to run. Obviously, I talked to Christine, who's also, mom of kiddos and working and spouse, and has kind of a lot of the same pressures. I'd love to chat with Jenna one day and understanding how she does all of it too. But I think I came into it really realistically, understanding the time commitment, and I have the support. I also convinced my parents to move to town because I loved it so much. So they helped me. Our best friend moved to town because I told him how awesome Bernardsville was. So I'm trying to make sure that my support system's all around me, and they are. So it's very lovely. As far as what I'd love to be a part of, I think digging into finance to me seems really interesting. It plays to some of my skill set when it comes to, analysis and data and those kinds of things. Plus, I think it's impactful. So I'd love to do something that feels impactful. So that wouldn't, that would be something I would like to be considered for, I suppose. As far as the, additional, committees or liaisons, obviously I'm interested in our school system, but recreation and the redevelopment would be amazing to, have my opinion taken into account. Those are things I'm really passionate about, and being in the commercial real estate space gives me a little bit of a perspective and access to kind of downtown and redevelopment planning. And I think it might just be something that would be great for someone to tap into me for. So.
All right, thank you. Last chance, anybody else have another question? See, and you got hit with these first. Now they've had time to. Okay, thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I think we're going to jump over to Matt because he was just second on my list. No special order. Hey, Matt, how are you? Oh, we can't hear you. Wait a minute. It doesn't, yeah.
You're muted or something, Matt.
It doesn't say you're muted, but we can't hear you.
Want to try your phone?
Can you try this now? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
That's good.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm the tech guy. I'm having tech issues, right? All right. Anyway,
So
thank you. Great to be here.
yeah, well, we'll start out again. I don't have to give you the whole talk about the board of directors, but just if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you put your name in.
Sure. In terms of, I've lived in Burnsville since August of 2013, and I've really enjoyed my time here. I've slowly gotten more involved as I've become, as I've been a resident here. In terms of my background, I've been in education for almost 20 years now. Much of that time was spent in the classroom as a classroom teacher at the high school level, and also a little bit at the college level. I recently, last year, received my PhD in higher education leadership management and policy. And at the time I was planning on moving into college administration. Thanks to COVID, no colleges were hiring, so I had to go back to teaching one more year. But recently I was named the Assistant Director of Community Standards at New Jersey City University. So I'll finally be moving into college administration. And I'm very, very excited about that. I think that, that really would help in a role like this. I've always been open to really maintaining community standards, like in education. And that's a big, broad term, but it really means looking out for the students and looking out for their well-being, student safety, student life, anything involving student affairs, also looking at policies. And so I think all of that would really help me in a role like this. So that's kind of my primary background. In terms of why this really appeals to me, as several know, I've run a couple of times for council, and for me at the local level, it's really looking at where we live and just appreciating it, and also what can I do to help make this a better place. That's really what it's all about. I've been about that since I've been very young, and so for me, it's looking at what Bernardsville has, and we have a lot. And we're making some really great strides, especially in the last couple of years. But how can I work with the team? How can I work with the council and just continue to build on those improvements? And so overall, that's just kind of a snapshot of who I am and really why this position appeals to me.
Okay, thank you. The second question I think I asked was that we often get special issues that come to us. That we have to make the difficult decisions of saying no, or looking out for what's best for the whole community and not a small group of people. Have you had to deal with that? How would you handle that, or what, anything related to that kind of issue?
Oh, sure. Well, in education, I have to deal with every sort of issue, and I've run across that issue. How do you please the group? How do you look at a situation and do what's best for the group, even if it means that maybe one or two people maybe questioning it. I think that there are a couple of key aspects. First of all, there needs to be communication. You need to keep that communication open with anyone involved in a particular issue, and just hear them out and just talk to them. And it could be a one-on-one meeting, it could be a group meeting, but really, trying as much as you can, just listen to people. Working in any leadership role, it isn't just about talking, it's also about listening. And I found that really helpful in education. I've been chairs of strategic planning committees, and we've had students and teachers and administrators. I've had my boss on the committee, and you have to make decisions that are for the best, for the school's interest. Well, sometimes that means that maybe one person on the committee may not go along with it, but your job as a leader is to say, what, like, this really is what's best for the committee. So it involves communication, it involves trying to collaborate and work together. And that's something that I've done throughout my career, and it's something that I think would really serve me well in a role like this.
Great, thank you. What do you see as the future of Bernardsville? What's your vision for what Bernardsville should be?
I see a bright future. I really do. Since I've been here, like other communities, the question is, how do we move forward? How do we bring more businesses in here? How do we enhance our community? How do we preserve the open space? And we're doing that. We really are, and we're doing it because of our committees. We're doing this because of organizations like Downtown Bernardsville. We're doing this because we have people who are just willing to pitch in, even if it means just kind of helping clean up areas that need cleaning up. So you see a bright future. And, we know we have work to do, but I think I'll use, and this kind of goes to what committees am I on, but I know the committee that we've been on, the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. I mean, look at what we just did. We spent, quite a long time working on that mural, and we were all set to have it ready last year, and then COVID hit, and we had to kind of adjust on the fly. But you know what? Look what happened. Like, that was just such a galvanizing just experience, and you could see that when everyone was there just looking at it. So I think that was a really, really big step, where we brought people together in a very difficult situation and just got things done. So ultimately, we do have a bright future. And as long as we just keep moving forward and looking at what needs to be done to revitalize downtown, yet to also preserve our open space, we'll be moving in the right direction for sure.
Great. You did, I think, Jeff, your question was, I forget.
My question was what committees are involvement with the community, I think, and he's already mentioned the cultural arts. I don't know if there are others. Yep. Matt, has there been anything else?
Yes, open space committee. Cultural arts and open space are two really important areas to me. I've always just appreciated open space and just the ability to go somewhere and just enjoy it. I'm a runner, I'm a walker, I play tennis. I'm very active. And so just to have that, to me, is just really, really important. So I'm on that. I've been on that committee for quite a while now. And I'm looking forward to, once we start to get back to a little bit more normalcy, moving forward with our initiatives with that. And then Cultural Arts Advisory Committee, that also has been a very important area in my life. I've been involved in the arts. People know I'm involved in Trilogy and Basking Ridge. I've been on the board there for over 10 years now. We're doing a show, by the way, in the park. I'm in Rumors, FYI, a little commercial plug there. But that's really important to me too. I would love to get involved in other committees that are priorities. I know one thing for me that's been really important over the last year has been mental health. That's really been an important area that, from an education standpoint, I would love to prioritize. So that's something that I'd like to do a little bit more of. But right now it's Cultural Arts Advisory, open space, and ready to do more.
Thank you. You wouldn't be a bona fide actor if you didn't plug your upcoming show. So that was good.
Fine, right? Community theater, gotta love it.
Yeah. Gina, what were your questions? You had, I'm just trying to be consistent so that we're asking the same things. Okay.
Sorry, flipping back and forth and need to get off mute. My first question was about borrowing. what's your kind of philosophy on borrowing, or do you think we need to do more borrowing to improve roads or other investments in town?
Well, I'll say this, borrowing, as Christina said, I think the easy answer is to say that, we don't want to borrow. That's the easy answer. But what I would say is that, you mentioned roads, and we know that, over the course of time, roads and our infrastructure in general needs a little TLC. So I think what we do need to look at is, how can we improve our infrastructure, especially when it comes to roads, and not just the widely traveled roads, but maybe the roads that don't get a lot of attention, that maybe the side roads that are kind of far and away from the main corridor, and how can we improve them while at the same time not having to kind of borrow. So I would say that would be my answer, that the easy answer is to say no borrowing, but at the same time, if roads and bridges and other areas need repairs, we have to look at how we can do that efficiently, with the funding that we need.
Okay. Good. Then my second question was about taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Higher, lower, remaining flat.
Well, I hate to be a parrot here, what Christina said, but really, and she's right. I mean, in reality, she's right. The easiest thing would be to say, oh, we need to lower taxes. We need to kind of keep them the same. And ideally, that's what we want to do. But we also know that the reality of the situation is, in terms of how government works, is that, residents want their tax dollars used efficiently. They want them used responsibly. Any kind of funding needs to be used responsibly. So I would say we have, as a council, we have the responsibility to do that. We have the responsibility to use our citizens' tax dollars, our residents' tax dollars, in the best way possible. And so that'll be my answer for that.
And Mayor, it's a quick question, just touching on open space. I mean, that's one of the the big sort of debate points, philosophically, not specifically. Philosophically, if you got $1 to spend on reserving for acquisition or improvement, kind of how would you think about that?
In terms of money spent on open space, are you talking about that?
We have a limited pot coming in. Just how would you think about reserving for acquisition or investing in current, needs for amenities?
Well, Councilman, I think one thing that we can do, and I believe that we have done, is, we have to first of all, we have to look at our residents. We have to reach out to our residents, and we have to really get information from them and look at, how is our current open space being used, and what are people looking for? We have a community of people. And demographics are changing. As we have more families moving in, as we have maybe a need for maybe more parks and a need for maybe more active recreation, we need to do that. But I think one of the first steps to do is to reach out to our residents and to really find out, how are they using our open space? What are some of the needs that they might have for open space? And then use that and as a kind of a ground level information point, to then say, okay, we have potential acquisitions here. What are we going to do? And I know in open space meetings that I've been on, we've talked about potential acquisitions, and we've looked at, okay, how would this be used? Would it be more active? Would it be more passive? If you have active open space, for example, where it's a park, or maybe there's barbecue pits or something like that, it all sounds well and good. But if there are residents that are around, there may be questions that we have to answer with that. So I would say, we need to reach out to the people and to really look at how, what the needs are, what the expectations are. And then once we do have a potential acquisition, to then say, what would really be the best way to use this, and not just consider the property itself, but also the surrounding areas too.
Okay. I think the next question I had asked was the time commitment of, besides the 2 meetings a week, to council committees, liaison to maybe 2 other boards or committees. And so that's one, is in terms of time commitment, and second, which of those groups, committees would you like to be appointed to?
Well, I'll start with the second question first. I mean, I'd love to continue the work that I've been doing on the committees that I've been working with in cultural arts and in open space, and other committees that would appeal to me. I'm kind of I don't know, like almost like a jack of all trades in a way. So I have a lot of different interests. I did mention, mental health. So if there's anything related to that, I would love to be a part of that. Anything involving education, I really love to be a part of that. But I'll start with the two that I'm on. In terms of time commitment, I have the time, and now that I'm not teaching anymore, now that I have a kind of a more traditional time job, I would have the time to make the meetings. And quite honestly, this is a priority for me. So if there was maybe something else that wasn't, that was almost like a secondary, and it was either this or that, I mean, this would take precedence over that. But scheduling wise, I make use of my time. I'll have to say, not to toot my own horn, but when it comes to meetings and everything like that, I'm pretty efficient with that. So I feel that I would be able to honor the time commitments that are required for this, for regular meetings and also for special meetings.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Matt. And what days are your show? July?
They are at the end of the month. They're the last weekend in July, July 30th, 31st, and then the first weekend in August 5th through 7th. So trilogyrepertory.com and check our Facebook page. Annie is the second show. We're doing Annie will be the second show this summer. So Rumors and then Annie, and it'll be great. So, hope you all come out.
That's Pleasant Valley Park, right?
Pleasant Valley Park. All shows begin at 8. They're all free. Bring a lawn chair and some bug spray.
All right. Yeah, you need bug spray. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mario, you are up. So
Okay.
we'll start with just, tell us about yourself and your background and why you think you would be a good candidate for this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for your time this evening. I've lived in town a long time, so I have a little list I have here, and I'm going to anticipate Dr. Hammond's question about my involvement in the town and sort of include that in my background, if that's okay. So my husband and I moved to Burnsville 26 years ago. We raised 3 children here. They all went through the public school. We're now empty nesters. They live on one lives in the East Coast, one lives in the Midwest, one lives on the West Coast. So we have them all over the country, but we are now empty nesters. My professional background is in aerospace and astrophysics. I started my career at NASA on the Hubble Telescope project. I currently work at the Museum of Natural History, American Museum of Natural History in New York City, on their astrophysics faculty in their graduate school. I teach Einstein's theories of general and special relativity and quantum mechanics. I also, during the time I was in Burnsville, took a 3-year part-time position with Somerset Hills School District, overseeing their energy efficiency upgrades and infrastructure upgrades. And in 3 years, we saved over $1 million. A little nod to the question about taxes, good way to save on budget to energy efficiency. But we saved over $1 million in utility costs during my time in the 3 years. I got involved in the community soon after we moved here. I was asked to join the board of St. John's Nursery School, where I oversaw their budget and their capital improvements and their spending. Then I was elected to serve on the Little League board. I was the only mom on Little League board, and I was a Little League coach for Instructional League, which was super fun. In terms of municipal experience, I served as Burnsville's representative on the Somerset County Solid Waste Advisory Commission, the Fire Prevention Commission, and I also served on the Library Foundation. I've also served for 10 years on the Burnsville Fire Department as a volunteer EMT. 2 years of those were as lieutenant. I recently resigned from that position to pursue my PhD. I'm in the dissertation phase of my final PhD in astrophysics education. And on a state level, I was appointed by Governor Corzine to serve on the Board of Trustees of New Jersey Institute of Technology for 3 years. And then I leveraged my professional work in a volunteer capacity in the town. I presented astronomy programs at the schools and at the library, and I served as an astronomy badge merit counselor for the local Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, which was very fun. They come to me to get their badge signed off, and then we look through the telescope and talk about astronomy, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, and then politically, I've been involved in town as one of the founders of the Burnsville Democratic Party. I've served on the Democratic Committee since 2006 in various positions. Currently, I'm serving as vice chair of the Burnsville Democratic Party. And in terms of Community service. The theme that has run through my life and living in Burnsville is the importance of community service. I was raised in a family that valued community service and believed you gave back to your community. And I took that to heart. And I also instilled that in my children as well. And I believe when you live in a community, you give back, especially a wonderful community as Burnsville has given us so much, and for us to give back. And as an example of that, my children went to, when they were younger, an open house at the fire department when they were talking about fundraising. This was before I joined. So they decided to start a wristband fundraiser. And that was their summer projects. They raised over $3,000 to the fire department. So community service is a big part of my family life. It's very important to me. And I feel I've had both a wide and deep breadth of experience with many different actors and groups within Burnsville, which will lend to my experience. I've also lived through all those groups. I've lived as a mom of babies, to mom of school children, to, an empty nester. So I feel like I sort of have my, have had my feet in all the different communities in Burnsville to help to sort of inform decisions I would make as a member of the council.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, I'm trying the question about, a small interest group versus what's best for everyone. How do you handle that? Have you had to do something like that?
I have, but in a number of capacities. I mean, in particular, my work on the board of New Jersey Institute of Technology. You can imagine being on the board of a university. I was there when they worked on the whole redevelopment project of the downtown arts district, and you had so many competing interests and limited funds, as you imagine, the state university, from everyone who wanted new red umbrellas to the school colors to to tenure for teachers, and it was difficult weighing those balances, but. The thing is, in my science background, I believe in evidence-based reasoning. That's what you have to fall back on. And I made decisions based on evidence and what was the best use of the dollars available at the time. And also at the museum where I work, when you go, I guess many people have probably been to the Museum of Natural History in New York, and you tend to think of it as sort of this one place. But it's more of the business model, sort of as of a mall, if you can imagine, one building, but Macy's is not connected to Bloomingdale's, things like that. They're all sort of separate. And the museum sort of runs on that same business model. So you do have many competing interests fighting for funding and for space to run programs and things like that. And that's been a challenge as well in sort of weighing the different options and what's best with limited funds, limited space, and limited time. So that's provided valuable experience as well.
Yeah. So what do you see as Burnsville's future, or what would you like to see? What is the vision that you have?
So, I'm fortunate to go last because I can echo Christine and Matt's points exactly. The future is bright. I've seen big changes since I've moved to Burnsville in terms of infrastructure. I mean, we have new sidewalks, roads are being paved, the parks are being improved. It's really going such a wonderful direction. And I love what's happening at the downtown, that the council just improved outdoor dining. I mean, what a wonderful experience. I imagine someone driving through town in the past and maybe can't find a parking space. Now you drive through town, you see parking signs, people outside enjoying themselves. If I didn't live here, I would pull over and, and enjoy a dinner at the station or someplace like that. So I see such positive improvements in that direction, and especially with the downtown. I see so many people moving in my neighborhood. I can walk to town and I see houses really sell well in our neighborhood, what's walkable, and new neighbors. We talk about, I love to walk to town. I'd love to go to the restaurants and the new shops that are arising. So I see so much of Burnsville really embracing that importance of a vibrant downtown. We're anchored by a commuter line, which is wonderful, movie theater, and I would strive to keep that momentum going forward, the Quimby Lane project. And I also be interested in, being involved in finding ways to recruit businesses to come as well, rather than just waiting for businesses to come into Burnsville, maybe do some active recruiting of businesses that people would want here.
Great, thank you. Gina, you got your questions?
Yes, first one was about borrowing. Do you think that we need to do more borrowing to improve roads or other investments?
Yeah, so, again, going last, I feel like I'm echoing, but Christina made a point about, without going through the budget with the fine-tooth comb. Again, it's that evidence-based reasoning part of me. To answer that question, I really need to go to the budget and look at all the evidence. In general, I would like to offer actually a different perspective. Instead of borrowing or not borrowing, I'd like to say maybe more creative ways of financing. And I'll give you an example. Back when I was working at the school on the energy program, Basking Ridge School District decided to put a solar roof on one of their gyms. And at the time, the interest rates were low. They bonded the project. And the way solar works, you don't just plug it into the grid. You sell it back to utility, and then you get the solar renewable energy certificates called SRECs, which are bought and trade on the open market. Now, the SREC market has gone down a bit since that time, since it's been flooded. But at the time, what Basking Ridge did in selling their SRECs more than covered the note on the bond, and they're actually making a profit on an infrastructure update that also saved the money in utility costs. So there was a really neat sort of creative borrowing that didn't cost them any money and actually brought in income for the town. So how cool is that? So I would like to really, instead of saying borrowing and not borrowing, look for ways to really, if we had the need to borrow, obviously I think it's probably better not to, but while interests are low, and if there's a need, if we could find creative ways that actually bring income into the town like that, I think that would be a really, really powerful avenue to pursue.
Mhm.
Thank you. And then taxes. What do you think about how our taxes are right now?
Yeah, well, we moved to this community from Essex County. Our house was twice as big. Our house in Essex County was the size of a dollhouse, so it's not saying much, but it was twice as big, and our taxes were half of what we were paying in Essex County. So we definitely moved here for the schools and the opportunity for having lower taxes. So of course, I'm in favor of keeping our tax base. I don't know if it's possible to lower taxes, but to keep them stable within today's dollars. Again, going back to creative ways. Well, first of all, I want to say too that the town it's a smaller part of the tax base. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about the schools, which is the majority of our taxes, and we have county taxes, which we can do nothing about. But the portion that is the town, there are also creative ways that you can keep taxes under control that involve bringing money into the town. And one is, energy efficiency. And during my tenure, we saved $1 million in utility costs in 4 buildings, only 4. And there's a lot you could do in Burnsville. In the library, we have a huge south-facing roof. So where we live in New Jersey, we're high enough in latitude, the sun is always south through all the seasons. If we solared the roof in the library where they have electric heat, and you could actually generate income for the town. I was recently, a couple summers ago, down in Spring Lake with my daughter, and they have a wonderful interactive QWERTY activated sign in the center of town, which directs you to all local businesses, which generates $1,500 a year in income for the town. I know because I thought this was the coolest sign I'd ever seen. And I called the administrator of Spring Lake and said, how much did this cost? Not only did it cost them nothing, it generates $1,500 a month in ad revenue. So there's some really creative ways that you can bring money into the town to help alleviate the tax burden. So we absolutely want to control spending. There's no question about that, but you can also find ways of bringing income into the town. Grants is another way to do it for solar. There's lots of grants. There's for upgrades on buildings, Smart Start energy program. The utilities have wonderful programs that I don't think we've made use of. So that would be sort of a pet project of mine to sort of look into the money that's out there, look at these creative ways to help bring services into the town while keeping our tax burden low.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like you're a busy person. So in terms of time commitments and, evening meetings, daytime meetings, early morning meetings, can you balance that? And second, of the 4 council committee meetings, the government organization personnel, I never get that right.
Right.
Finance, public safety, and public works, as well as the boards and other committees. Where's your interest in serving on those?
Yeah. I definitely do have the time. Being an empty nester, helps. And I am sort of past my coursework in my PhD program. So I have, a second more time, I think, in that, in any case. But no, I do have the time. And I believe if you offer to do something, you need to go in full time to do that. So that should not be an issue for me. In terms of committees, I'm kind of interested in personnel. I've worked in management at the museum and managing people, and I kind of like to leverage that experience into personnel. I'm also interested in public works, especially for infrastructure upgrades, things in that nature, public safety. I think my background on the rescue squad could be an asset. So those are sort of my interests in terms of organizations in town that work with the borough. The library is a great passion of mine. I actually bought my house because it was in walking distance of the library, believe it or not. I told my realtor I don't want to look at a house unless I can walk to the library. So it's a great place I'd love to be and would love to be involved with working with the library and also with the schools as well. But in the end, I would be, really like the council to sort of look over my resume and see where my talents could be put to best use, because that's sort of what in public service, what you want, right? To put what you can do sort of to the place where you can make the biggest impact.
Yep. All right. Anybody else going, gone? What we're going to do is, to finish our meeting, we'll have an executive session at the end when we can discuss. And then we'll come back out of executive, we'll come back to public and announce our appointment. So we just didn't want to, stop the meeting and have an executive session in the middle. So you can hang around and stay through the meeting if you'd like, or I guess we can call when we're done. Either way, so it's up to you if you want to stay.
But Mary Jane, can I ask you, is the person who's going to be appointed going to take part in the meeting this evening?
No, not until they're officially appointed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know about staying on for that reason. Okay.
Yeah, and then you would serve until the election is certified in November. The one question I didn't ask all three of you is, would you be interested in running in November if you're appointed? Obviously, Christina is, so, but for Matt or Mario, either.
That was an easy lob for me. Yes, absolutely.
Matt?
I don't see him. Did he leave? I think he's gone. Right? Do you see him, Anthony? I don't see him on the list.
I don't see him.
No, I don't see him.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, I can say potentially, but we do obviously have a screening process. So I would leave that up to the wisdom of the Democratic Committee to make that decision.
Okay. But you would be, if they picked you, you would run.
I certainly would investigate that possibility. Yes.
Great. All right. Thank you. So we will move on with our agenda. As I get it back.
Mayor,
Yes,
this is Chad.
Chad. Yeah.
I have a little announcement that I think the town would be interested in.
Oh, you won. Tell me you won.
Our 10-year-old baseball team just pulled off the impossible and have crawled out of the losers bracket and are on their way to the district championships.
Woo! Yes.
Nice, congrats.
Excellent. I hope you got pictures that we can post.
There are pictures. There's movies. It was an exciting game, and I didn't think we'd come back out of the losers bracket. I'm really proud of the boys, and I know the town will be too. So
yeah. So when do you play next? I mean, what's the
tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Oh, geez.
Tomorrow. It's going to be our 13th game in a row.
Yeah, you've been playing every day. Jeez.
Is that here home? Is that here in Burnsville or is that somewhere else?
No, we were in over in Morris Plains tonight. We played Morristown American, and actually the team's going to Penguin, so I'm going to be sitting outside Penguin finishing up the meeting and letting the boys eat some ice cream locally. So,
but my question is, where the game tomorrow? Where will that be at?
It will be at Morristown American, but it'll be all over the bubble tonight, and we'll get it out so people can be aware.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Congrats. Okay. We are now up to 4B, presentation. So that would be you, Olivia.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Yes. Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. So I am here. Last time I was here, I was asking the council for some funding, but tonight we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about events. We have a nice, robust promotions committee now, and so we have been working diligently on creating our events calendar for the rest of 2021. And rather than come to you with each individual event every so often, I thought perhaps we could run through the list. There are 8 that would be relevant to council tonight for use of various property in the area. We do have about 10 items on our full list, but actual community events, there are about 8. So I don't know how in-depth you all want to go with this tonight. I'm happy to provide more detailed information as we move forward, or even after the meeting. So whatever works best for you guys. But there are about 2 every month so far that we are more or less planning. Not so much November, but we make up for it in December. So the first event would be Labor Day weekend, specifically on the Sunday, September 5th, and it's a 5K. And we are more appropriately naming it the I Love Bernardsville 5K and 1 mile walk. And we did decide to change the route a little bit based on feedback from the runners when we did the Dad's Day Dash in 2019. So we are working on actually sanctioning this course. We've spoken to the police, and it would start and end around the high school. I have been in communication with the high school. We haven't finalized our conversation, but we have been communicating for approval from them. But we would need approval from you guys obviously as well, since we'll be running through some of the residential areas, including on Mullins and going around up past the middle school, sort of looping around and then coming a little bit on Anderson Hill and then coming back down back to the high school. I can offer a full course map as well if anyone wants to take a look at that as well. Do you want me to go through each one? How do you guys want to do this? What's the best bet?
Yeah, no, I think if you just give us an overview of them, and as each one comes up, give us more details the closer we get, especially if there's something you need us to do.
Okay, I think ultimately it's going to be approval from all of you to use the various spaces. So I can go through the list, be pretty brief with each one, and then if you need any more information about each one, feel free to ask. So that would be, again, the September 5th is the 5K. Mm-hmm. And in addition to the race itself, we are considering holding a mini health fair. It's sort of what it's turning into. We didn't really anticipate it going this way, but we're talking to some chiropractors. We're talking to clothing vendors, specifically in the athletics field. There's some gyms that are interested in just having a table and sharing information. So it's expanding a little bit for this event, but that will be part of the race as well. On Sunday, September 26th, and again, our date actually had originally been the week before, but because the high school has a lot going on the week before, we did change this date to make it work with the high school. We would be holding a back to cool car show rather than back to school, because it is September and we're welcoming back the community. And we figured at the end of September, everyone's sort of starting to get into the swing of things. So again, on a Sunday at the high school lot, similarly to what the PBA did for Father's Day a couple years back. So that should be fun. Again, it would be a morning event. Probably end around 1 or 2 o'clock latest. So that would be, again, Sunday, September 26th. In the middle of October, we actually did this one last year. It was a bit quiet, but we're hoping this year, announcing it a little earlier, will garner some more interest. Would be the Scarecrow Stroll. And that would actually be a 2-week event, so to speak. Folks would decorate scarecrows and bring them to a spot on Alcott Square. Depending on how many we receive, we would either go down a little bit, Minebrook Road, even up to Church Street up on 202, and attach the scarecrows to trees, not any lampposts or any public utility poles or anything like that, specifically trees. And I think there are about 35 spots that would be available for all of that throughout that area. Up on Anderson Hill Road a little bit as well, up by the library, there are a couple spots there as well that could be an opportunity. Last year we did not get very many. I think we had maybe 5, maybe less. So we didn't get too many, but a lot of people that did participate did enjoy a little bit. And I know
my daughter's Girl Scout troop did it and they had a blast.
They did an amazing job. That one was really awesome. Really, I remember them being there. It was really cool. So hopefully more members of the community will know about it early on and participate. So that'll be really fun. And the idea with that is that folks walk around town and each one will have a number. and people can vote on their favorite, and there would just be a people's choice, favorite category. And I'm not sure what the prize would be yet, but there would be a winner, and it would encourage folks to walk around town. And it would be on for 2 weeks. The scarecrows would be out all day, all night. We zip tied them to the trees last year, which worked out really well. We had Scotch Guard and everything available, so they lasted for a while. So it was really fun. On Saturday, October 30th, we are bringing back the trunk or treat. If anyone was there in 2019, everyone knows that the spot where the farmer's market is at the train station was packed with probably about 1,500 people. Managing that this year with COVID and everything, we can certainly modify if we need to as the fall approaches, just like with all of the events. We will have contingencies in place should we need them, but as of right now, it's a very popular event. So we are looking forward to bringing that one back. And just simply put, it's folks welcome to decorate their trunks of their cars, park their cars, and hand out candy and maybe some games. We had games last time, but there were so many people, nobody could play them. So we did have a movie. I don't believe we will be doing that this year, but we are still in preparation for that event. So that could change, but ultimately it would just be that spot where the farmer's market is from about 5 to maybe 7:30 p.m., depending on how long folks linger. Last time we were done around 7 p.m. So I think it started raining. So everyone cleared out pretty quickly.
Is that Saturday?
Yes, Saturday, October 30th. It's literally the day before Halloween. So hopefully we'll get a nice turnout on that one. Okay, we're moving into November. Small Business Saturday is November 27th this year. 2 days after Thanksgiving. Last year, we just did a very simple sort of coat drive. I just parked myself right outside of our store, Wavelength in town. But the year before, not COVID, obviously, COVID's not a year that I'm discussing. We didn't do any events. But the year before, we had a table and tent set up in the Milton Fenwick pop-up park, which I thought was a really great spot for folks to come and get a copy of the holiday gift guide, which we have. And we have little pots out for folks to put their names in for giveaways for various businesses that are giving items away, and having information for businesses that are having Black Friday like discounts and promotions and so forth. So it was a really nice little spot for folks to come and see what's going on for Small Business Saturday in town. So for that one, it would be just having a table there for Fenwick Park as a pop-up. It's not a mad dash. It's sort of a day-long thing. People just come very quietly and randomly as they walk through town. We have free bags that we give away, and anything else that the businesses need as a result of working with American Express for Small Business Saturday. So that one would be just a few hours use of Fenwick Park with a table and a tent. The holiday specific events, we would like to bring back the holiday parade. We did it 1 year. We had a great staging area on Sini Drive. We came down Anderson Hill Road. We made a left on Alcott Ave, and then we finished up at the high school in the parking lot. It was a great course. It was a great little parade. If we are a little bit longer this year, then perhaps it'll last a little bit longer. If the police are willing to have a conversation about an alternative route that might be a little longer, we could certainly do it. Otherwise, happy to do that route, but it worked out really well. So, and I know the folks that attended really, really loved it. So we would obviously like to make sure we can bring that back. So that would be obviously the use of the roads and police presence, which of course we communicate with the police regularly on making sure that happens. So obviously that would be the use of those roads.
Do you have a date for that, Olivia?
Saturday, December 4th. We probably start a little later. Last time we started at like 5-ish. I think this time we would probably start around maybe 7.
Yeah.
It would probably only be an hour at most. And I say an hour, not for the actual parade to go from one street to the next, but the parade itself was maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was getting it all set up.
Right. It was the setup portion beforehand, and then it was the finishing up at the high school in the parking lot there, and just there was a cupcake truck and people hung out, and we did some very poor Christmas caroling, which we may or may not do this time, but we certainly all had some fun. It was a nice holiday spirit lifting event. Okay, and then the final event on the list, which we are still working out some dates. We are actually working on getting quotes. It's a little bit bigger than all of the other events that we've spoken about so far this evening. We are, downtown Burnsville is considering bringing a ice rink to the town, a professionally set up and managed rink that would be temporary. It would be set up by a professional company and obviously broken down. We're working out, deciding what's more appropriate as far as management is concerned. We certainly have folks that are equipped to do so. But then again, you know, those companies also offer management services. So we're just looking into all the specifics and details. We're July, so I understand it's early for folks to think about ice skating in December or even after, but there's a lot of planning that goes involved that's involved with something like this. So we are starting now. So far, I put a little survey out to the community on our Facebook group in town, The Bubble, and it got a very nice response. 260 something folks said yes. I think 5 people said no. So, I certainly think this is something the community truly loves and would love to participate in. We do have a lot of the provisions in place already. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen with various individuals and departments. We do have insurance to cover what needs to be covered. And the various ice skating companies do have various insurance options as well, as far as waivers and other details to ensure safety of the guests. Certainly conversation with the police department we will have, and we will manage all the costs associated with everything. So that's kind of the big one, just because it requires a lot more, but there would be skate rentals. We may even consider some sort of holiday market, depending on how far we need to go with this. But again, right now, the location that seems to be of most interest are the basketball courts by the town pool. I realize that those basketball courts do get used almost all of the time. But if folks would be willing to, switch it up a little bit and go ice skating for a few weeks, it's only meant to be there for, maybe the month of December, then perhaps that might be something that folks would consider. But I am open to hearing other options of where something like this could go, but it could do, quite a lot for the town and bring folks into town. So I believe that is all 8 of the events that we are considering for now through the end of the year. So now I'm going to open it for questions.
I already got 7 there. Did I miss one? The 5K, the Back to Cool Car Show, the Scarecrow Stroll, the Trunk or Treat, Small Business Saturday, Holiday Parade, and Ice Rink.
Yeah, that's
what did I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, sorry, I counted on my sheet. I have the Holiday Lights competition. I apologize. I counted all 8 here, but Holiday Lights competition doesn't necessarily involve the town from the council perspective, although, it does encourage everyone to have lights on their houses. So maybe it's something you should be aware of in case somebody, decides to be Clark Griswold this year and, damages somebody's driving capabilities for whatever reason. But outside of that, that I guess that's the 8th one.
Yeah, and I noted, I think it was on Small Business Saturday, you did that wonderful shopping guide, the Visit Bernardsville or whatever it was. You going to do that again?
Yes, Discover Burnsville, the holiday gift guide.
I think a lot of people really enjoyed having that. That was really helpful. So that would be great.
Yeah, fortunately, with the work that we have been able to do since March, we do have a little bit more funding available to us so that hopefully we can get it into everyone's mailbox this year rather than just having folks pick it up themselves or get it digitally. So we would love to have the opportunity to send it to everyone via mail this year. So working on all of that.
Great. Sounds like a fun-filled couple of months.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Anybody have questions for Olivia on any of those?
No, but thank you for all that you do.
Yeah.
I would love to find a good space for the rink closer to downtown.
That's the challenge we are all having.
I know.
The farmers market location would be very central, but we're running into issues with obviously pedestrian traffic, running across the street perhaps. Obviously parking, perhaps the train station, the rest of the parking lot would be great as parking, but at the same time, we don't want to take away from folks just going to dinner or doing their usual thing. So, the pool's not really being occupied, so that parking lot, most of the hours this would be open would be evenings, weekends, obviously. So it wouldn't so much interfere with a lot of the school. I know that there's sports and stuff that go on, but I don't know, it might be a more available space, but I agree. I would love to have it more in downtown. So if anyone has ideas for other locations, I'm very open to hearing what your thoughts are.
Maybe the Ammerman lot, I don't know how big it is and how big the rink would be.
Problem is, if you use the rink, then you can't, then there's no parking for it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of far back, like it goes, yeah, I don't know. Just thinking.
Yeah, it's
Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could measure the space and see what kind of rink would fit there, because they do have different space options.
I actually think the basketball courts is a great location. I'm biased because I sit on the committee, but in December, basketball is going to be mostly inside a gym. It's not going to. I doubt very many people are playing basketball outside in December.
Yeah, I'm just thinking more for
but
closer to downtown. That's all.
Yeah.
okay.
Get people shopping
Great.
and stuff.
Thank you.
I would like to just add something while you're on, Olivia, and for my own perspective here, you listed so many things that have, you've tried. And while you listed them, you gave some examples of hardships or, things that went a little bit wrong and how you overcame them and how you're really trying something very new. And you really never give up on any of this. And that is such an admirable thing to me because, there are so many ideas that people have and I want to do this and you do them. You and your committee are so dedicated. And I really want to thank you for that because you didn't even give half of the problems that you run into. And I know because I've seen you just flip into awesomeness and do a great job. So I just want to say thank you for that too.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you. That's really, really sweet. Listen, I actually get a lot of ideas that we don't do because we just simply can't get to them all. And I wish we could do them all, but it's just physically not possible. So I hope the community that may be listening in or hearing this after the fact or wherever they hear it knows that, we hear you and we will do what we can to accommodate everyone and whatever we can do. But we're going to do the best for as many people as we can in the process. So, chugging along and doing what we do. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And you did have the town meeting at the movie theater.
We did. I didn't put that on this list because it wasn't quite relevant for what we're discussing, but our next community meeting is October 6th. So hopefully folks can put that on your calendars. And it will be again at the movie theater because Harvey Goldberg is an incredible person as well and is just giving us the space. So really grateful to have that little theater, a little gem in this town.
Yeah.
And also on that token, we do have a community survey that's going to be going out in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully postcards will start heading to mailboxes by early next week. So we hope to hear more from the community and get more feedback from businesses and our residents too. So look out for that in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. And I'll second everything Christine said, because, it's been 5 years now that you have worked on this and never given up and just kept pushing forward, and look where we are now. Really just incredible.
Yeah, we didn't really find our footing until earlier this year, and presenting to you guys was really sort of the beginning of it all in March. When we said, okay, we're applying to Main Street, which by the way we still have not yet heard about the results from Main Street, but we're crossing our fingers that we'll hear from them soon. But that really propelled it all forward, and making the town so much more of what it already is, which is really amazing, is just part of my motivation. So
yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks,
okay, guys. Moving on. Approval of minutes, June 28th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, we have approved the minutes. It's now an open session for items not on the agenda, just anything that someone from the public would like to speak on. Please give your name and address when you are unmuted, and we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Anthony will hold a timer up. If you see him, he'll have his iPad with the countdown. And if you have something written that you're reading, if you would send that to Anthony, that would be wonderful. So would anyone in the public like to be heard at this time? You can either raise your hand on the, I think it's on the reactions tab, or do this if you can't figure out how to use that. I see Johanna wants to speak. So Johanna.
Yeah, good evening, Johanna Wissinger. And I want to continue this positive note by extending appreciation to the people who helped with the giveaway of the light bulbs. It really says something wonderful that there are people in our community that give their time to do something positive when we know that there are people who are facing adversity. So thanks to a grant from the New Jersey Clean Energy and for the support from Sustainable Jersey, we received 400 LED 60-watt light bulbs, and Tom Janicki and Leah Horowitz and Councilman Hammond all contributed their time and work towards meeting this goal. And I wanted to also thank the Works Department Manager, John McDowell, for storing these bulbs and distributing them at the food pantry connected with our churches. So this was like a win-win-win. We met some needs for people who are facing some adversity. And it says that we have empathy for people in need, for the borough, and it saved energy. So I'm happy about that. And I just wanted to quickly tell you.
Thank you, Johanna. Yeah, that was a great program. I don't know how if they've given them all out, but I'm sure there's a need for them. You know, light bulbs are expensive too. I don't think people realize how much you spend on light bulbs. Okay. Anyone else wish to be heard? I'm not seeing any. You see any, Anthony? Anybody else have their hand up?
No, I don't see anybody.
No. Okay, I will then close the public session. I believe we have another one at the end, so you'll have another chance if you didn't get it this time. Gina, you have the agenda open? Oh, never mind.
Yes.
I have to do the public hearing. So I'm going to move to open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-1887, an ordinance allowing wine tasting at the farmer's market and supplementing and amending Chapter 3 of the Borough Code entitled Police Regulations. And this was at the request of Ed English. He has a vendor who has, I think they've done it at other farmers markets. They're local wines that local, what do you call them, vineyards have been growing. So I think it'll be a great addition. Would anyone in the public like to be heard on this? Oh, there's it. No? All right, I will close the public hearing. Now, Gina, can you move that ordinance?
Yes, I move to pass ordinance 2021-1887 on final reading and adopt as published.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. Zamara.
Yes.
All right, Ed, you're good to go.
Thank you so much.
All right, when are they going to be able to come? Do you know?
And not next week, but the week following.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. John, you got the agenda. Would you move the next ordinance?
I will. I move that ordinance 2021-1889, an ordinance repealing 3-9A of the Borough Code entitled Consumption and Possession of Alcohol Beverages by Minors on Private Property be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing to be scheduled for a meeting beginning 7 p.m. Monday, August 9th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and what this actually, we have no choice on this. This is part of the new marijuana regulations that we can no longer have any ordinances that say that you can't, we cannot control the use of alcoholic beverages or marijuana by minors on private property. So
how is this covered? That's my concern, is that by repealing this, even though I realize that the state doesn't give us a lot of choice, what is in place in terms of?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. They can't do anything.
Remember the drunk driving problem 30 years ago? We're going back to it.
yeah, this is,
This is terrible.
we are
We can
not
thank our
allowing,
governor.
the state is not allowing towns to have these ordinances. They are,
State hasn't stepped in to do anything. Is that correct?
No, the state actually put out they passed the law, which requires us, that says we can't do anything about it.
And our officers would actually get in trouble if they tried to intervene with minors drinking on private property.
Yes.
The world's on its head right now.
In fact, for possession, the first 3 offenses, all we can do is issue warnings. On the first offense, warning, second offense, a warning with information as to counseling services, and third offense, a warning with a referral of counseling service. So
but at least they did put back that they can notify the parents.
Parents, that's right. That was
really
on
bad.
the first offense. You couldn't even notify the parents, but there was such an uproar that they changed that.
Yes.
But I thought that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that warning system was under discussion, that everybody realized that was ineffective and lenient.
But the part that was under discussion was, as the mayor said, as initially written, it said you couldn't even notify the parents on first offense. So they changed that. Now they can notify the parents on first offense.
Yeah, but that's all they changed.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we will have a public hearing on this. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed. Listen, I'm a child of the 60s and 70s, so I'm going to show my civil disobedience. This is wrong. I'm going to vote no. I realize that the state says otherwise, but I want to be on the record that this is wrong.
Okay. We are now up to resolutions. 21-147 to 21-152. Would someone like to move them, or does anybody have questions on them? First of all, anything you want to address before we vote on them?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. Was the police regular rules and regulations? Was this part of the resolutions?
Yes.
I did have a question about that.
The only thing I noticed on page 61, they changed 10 to 7 on something, but didn't change the TEN to SEVEN. That was it. It's the only thing I saw on there, but I don't know if the chief is on. It's just a minor correction.
Okay, I will pass that along.
Did you have a problem with it, Jeff? You want to do it?
Oh, not a problem. Just a question, actually. I noticed, I think it was around step 2 or 3, that there was a interview committee selection, part of the selection, that included the police chief, the business administrator, and the chair of the public safety committee. And I was wondering whether it would be appropriate that the chair of whomever that would be in the future of the personnel committee be part of that as well.
I don't believe that it wouldn't violate the Sunshine Act at all to do that, to have 2. We would not object to having 2 council members present during that.
Yeah, because I know we have 3 on the public safety committee, 3 members, and I think that it would bring those 2 committees for this particular important effort together.
Yep. Oh, Chief, are you available to speak to this?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm
Yes.
sure my mic's working. Sure. So if you recall, one of the reasons that we did this was we tried to kind of bring it in line with what we were currently doing with the sergeants. And the other thing that we were concerned about was the recommendation from our GIF that council not be directly involved in some of these processes that take place with regards to actually interviewing candidates for promotion. Are you talking about the promotion part of the rules, or are you talking about the selection of the new officers?
The part that I don't have it right in front of me. The part that was highlighted in yellow, I think it was promotion.
Yeah. So if it was promotion, part of the driving force behind that was to come into compliance with some of the items that were brought to our attention by the GIF at a recent training that I was required to attend. They talked about the promotional process, and they discouraged the council from actually being involved in the actual selection process and the interview process, because ultimately they have to make the final decision on the recommendations, and there was too many possibilities for conflict. So we tried to bring ourselves in compliance with their recommendations on how that should be done. So, if you bring one more on, it's only two. It's not the full committee of 3 council people that we used to have before, Jeff. But if you recall, we had a real problem trying to get our schedules put together. These interviews take time. They're time consuming. They're thought provoking. They typically don't get done in one session. Sometimes what would happen is somebody would bow out, and somebody, the people who do the interviews have to be there for all the candidates. In the past, what we've done is we've had people substitute in, so we didn't have the consistency. We just felt that it was important to include, council representation on those interviews. And that's why I think Tom and I were both in agreement that it would be appropriate to have only the public safety chairperson be a part of that process. And, obviously later, there would be an opportunity for, questions and whatnot, and concerns to be addressed. But at that point, I think we felt that it was better for one person, Tom. Is that correct, if I recall?
Yeah.
Well, if I can just want to clarify that the committee we're discussing is for the hiring of new police officers. It's not for the promotional process. So Kevin, that what the GIF asked for, and quite frankly, what's consistent with CALEA standards, is that the council not participate in that promotional process, since they might have to sit in judgment of it down the road. But we thought that, well, it would be good to have at least one council member involved in the hiring of new officers. So, you could see who's entering into the pipeline and have a say at that level. And there probably would never be a challenge where that has to go to council at that. So, having said that, if you want to make this 2 council members on the selection committee for new hires, I don't have a problem with that.
Tom, I would just recommend that if we do that, we don't limit it to the department or the committee chairperson, because they may not be available, that we make it a representative of the committee to give us a little bit more flexibility. And as long as that person knows that, there's an obligation that, they be present for all of the interviews. We can't substitute one person in and another person in. It should be the same.
An easy way to structure that, Chief, is just to say the chair or a designee, right?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, but having said it on that process, just to make it clear, Councilman McQueen, it has to be the same person each time.
Yes.
So if it's a designee, then that person commits to
the whole thing,
all the interviews.
Yep.
And since this is a hiring process, having been part of that when I was on the public safety committee, actually, I think that having the opportunity to have 3 people there was important. We had different outlooks, different questions. It was yes, it was difficult to get everybody together. But again, that was a different council as well. I think I think it's important to have more than one, for sure.
So then,
anyone else have an opinion? One way or the other? Okay. You want to add a member of personnel?
So Mayor, if we do that, the motion would be to amend step 3 of the selection process to include, so it would read the borough administrator, chief of police, the chairpersons of the public safety and personnel and organizational development committees or their designees.
Okay. So we've just changed that 21-152. So it's as amended.
Are we going to specify that the designee has to be a council member?
It has to be a member of that committee.
Yeah.
Of that council committee. Yeah.
Now, we're not appointing someone now. It's going to be a designee based on what's hiring and what's going on, correct?
Yeah, and who's available, who has the time. Okay?
Yep.
So can someone move 21-147 to 21-152 with the amendments to 21-152?
I'll move those resolutions. I think it was 21-147 to 21-152.
Yeah.
Or as amended.
I'll
Second?
second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Amara,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue.
Yes.
Okay, mayor's report. So, July 1st, Tom and Bob Markowick and I met with 2 residents who are interested in running the concession stand at the Polo Grounds. So we met them at the snack shack there and talked about different ways they could either use that or come up with something else, but they were looking for some ideas. We have not heard back from them, so I don't know if, they've followed up on any of it. I don't know, Tom, have you heard back?
No, ma'am.
Okay. On the 6th, we hosted Congressman Malinowski for the afternoon. He came about 1:30. We met briefly at the Bernard's Cafe and then walked around town. We went to the theater and he spoke with Harvey Goldberg, really asking questions about how COVID has impacted their business, if they were able to get any assistance, any grants, how that was working. Then we went to Bee Boutique and also the Claremont Tavern. And I think the main issue with the tavern, they were talking about how difficult it is to get help. They've had a really hard time bringing their help back. We also talked about the Boylan Terrace walkway that we had put in for a transportation alternatives grant, which was turned down because it's very competitive and, they encouraged us to apply again next year. But the congressman did put it in as one of his earmark projects as part of the infrastructure funding that's still being worked on. So we went up to Boylan Terrace and showed him where that was. And it was interesting because just as we pulled onto Boylan Terrace, Bob Brightly was driving by. So Bob got out and showed him how he had it designed to get people down to the train station. So hopefully late summer, we may have an answer on whether we will get any of that infrastructure funding for that project. We also showed him the atrium at Bistro 7-3 to exemplify how creative our restaurants have been. And then at 4 o'clock, we went back to the Bernard's Cafe where the congressman had a town hall meeting. There were probably about 30 people there. So it was a good meeting, some good questions. He covered a lot of information. And thank you again to Olivia and from downtown Bernardsville, because she pretty much coordinated the day and had all the stores set up to talk to the congressman. On the 7th, I attended a joint county governing officials association meeting at Raritan Valley Community College. It was Somerset, Hunterdon, and Warren County Governing Officials Association. And they did a presentation on energy aggregation, which, Dr. Hammond was also there. Very interesting concept that a number of the counties have done. PPAC Gladstone has done it, the Mendhams have done it, and it's Concord Energy, I think, which has done some projects for us in the past, kind of heads this up where they aggregate your energy. You still keep JCP&L, so they will always be our who you get your bill from, but they go to an auction and they can get better rates for the residents. So I think it's something we should look into. Possibly I could have them come and do a little presentation for the whole council, because it's really, I think, a good way to try and get some energy savings for our residents.
I agree. Having sat through that, I know you were taking a lot of notes. And I had a chance to talk to a councilman from Clinton, which has been doing this for a number of years. It's I think it's an exciting possibility and opportunity.
Yeah, and what it is, and they do the company that's managing this does all of the promotions and information and education so that people really understand what it is, because everyone opts in, but you have 30 days to opt out. If you don't want to be bothered participating in this at all, you can opt out and say, I don't want to do it. But in general, I know PPAC has said they've done very well with it. I spoke to one of their council people, and they've been very pleased with the whole program. And we could either go into the Hunterdon County or the Morris County aggregate. Somerset doesn't have its own yet, but I think Mendham went into the Hunterdon one and PPAC went into the Morristown one. So, but I think it's a good program to look into, and I'll follow up on that and get you some more information.
Just about the opt-in and opt-out, because I think that's confusing to people, but you have the 30 days initially to do that, but you can opt in and out at any time throughout the year. So it's very flexible in that regard.
And I also spoke to Carol Bianchi at JCP&L just to see what their input was on energy aggregation. And they actually said they don't care one way or the other, because you're still their customer. And that's all they care about. You still get the same service from JCP&L. They're the ones that respond if your power's out. So they actually have information on energy aggregation on their website. So it's not any kind of a conflict with the service they provide. So we'll get you more. The county calls, we now have 71% of Somerset County residents fully vaccinated, which is 205,384 people. I think we are #1 in the state for vaccinations, for vaccinated residents. There's senior centers. The 6 that are in the county are all doing some outside programming. They're doing the Tuesday and Thursday grab and go lunches, and they're looking to reopen all the senior centers by September, but probably with a hybrid offering. It seems that people really like having some virtual classes, so they may keep both. On the rescue funds, the county said they're going to be hiring consultants to assist with the reporting requirements, and they're going to create a website with a dashboard to show how the money is being spent. And they're looking to have all the municipalities in the county work with them in how we use the funds, with kind of an overall strategy, so that we can piggyback on what each other are doing in terms of reporting and compliance and transparency. They will be, I believe, scheduling a roundtable meeting in person to try and discuss how we are all using our funds. And if you're interested, the League of Municipalities is scheduling tours of a cannabis facility in Maplewood for any municipalities that are interested. And the county said they expect to have the 5 locations for the pre-voting sites that are required for November. So hopefully by our next county call, we'll know where those 5 places are. They are looking for more poll workers. So if you know anyone that wants to be a poll worker, have them call the county because they really are going to need a lot more people with those 5 extra sites and the pre-voting time. Tom and I met with Lisa Plevin and Judith Thornton from the Highlands Council on July 8th to talk about conformance with the Highlands Act and Regional Master Plan to see how that can benefit Bernardsville. They offer a lot of grant funding and assistance to support in development and implementation of a lot of different planning initiatives. So the first step in the process to work with them is to apply for a $15,000 initial assessment grant. Then with that grant, they will pay for a study to determine if we need any modifications. They'll look at their plan versus our land use program and see how close we are in compliance with, what's different, what's the same, what we can modify. And then from that point, based on that assessment, we can decide if we want to opt into their programs and have access to a lot of grant funding. And what they don't pay for, the grants don't actually pay for the actual project, but they will cover all the pre-planning and engineering and surveys and that kind of, all the soft costs, which would be terrific. Because we even mentioned the dam project, and while they couldn't give us a grant for the dam, they could help fund the engineering costs for looking at, how we would replan the parkland and those kinds of things. So it's, I think we have the forms to apply for that 15,000 assessment grant. If the council thinks that's a good idea, we will move ahead with that. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been an advocate for the Highlands, us joining that since before I got elected. So yeah, obviously, yes.
Okay. Tom, you have the forms, right? So we can
Yep.
start that
Yep.
process.
My only caution is that we should make sure that we have our Parks and Recreation Master Plan squared away so we can be clear about what is important to us in terms of land use, public land uses down the road.
Yes. Well, hopefully we'll get that soon.
So I'm clear to start applying for that
Yeah.
assessment grant? Okay, great.
On July 8th, we had the Housing and Zoning Committee meeting. They are currently reviewing the ordinance for air conditioning units and generators, trying to make it more resident friendly so that people on smaller lots can get generators installed or outside air conditioning units. The committee is also looking at a fencing ordinance. That kind of got waylaid. It's very hard to do a fencing ordinance, but we were getting samples from a lot of different towns. We had on the 8th, the downtown Burnsville board meeting, and Olivia pretty much told you everything that went on with that. On this past Saturday, I participated and managed to survive the free workout at the Polo Grounds that Recreation and the Mayor's Wellness Campaign sponsored. We had a really good turnout. I think there were maybe 30 people. A big thank you to Game Changer Gym, who are doing these classes for free. They were terrific. So there will be a class there every Saturday at 10 a.m. through the summer, unless it's raining, on the turf field. Today I met with Bob Markowick and John McDowell over at 271 to look at the logistics. We want to have a concert there on August 1st. So we were kind of looking at the electric and how that's going to work. As for the redevelopment project, right now, just for the public, the council has reviewed the proposals and issued follow-up questions to the developers. we just got the responses today. So there'll be some time for us to review them. And then we suggested that the special meeting on the 25th, when we're presenting the recreation master plan, that we schedule an executive session after so that we can meet with our professionals and go through the responses that we got from the developers so we can move ahead with that. So I don't know, is that, we'd have to re-notice that. Yes, Anthony?
Yes, but we would have to renotice the
Just to add
meeting notice for the July 26th. Yeah.
Yeah, because that'll give us, 2 weeks to really digest what the responses were and if they answered them the way we expected, and then we can discuss it and hopefully pick a developer, which would be great. Okay, that's my report. Questions?
Mayor, would there be any reason or anything that we can put back out to the public to get any input from the public? You know, if they've looked at the concept plans online, this is for redevelopment for Quimby. If they've looked at the concept plans and they want to provide feedback to us, how would they go about doing that? Or should we put out some kind of communication for like a date or something?
I don't think at this point there's really an opportunity for the public until we actually, I think once we name a developer, because that's your decision to pick the
No, I
developer.
know, but we're looking for feedback, right? From the public, right? If they've looked at the concept plans, if they have.
Well, I think what happens when people look at the concept plans is they think that that's the plan. That's what they're going to get, which isn't necessarily so. I think once we have a developer is a point at which to have a public meeting and say, okay, we have a developer, tell him, let's hear what your vision is for this and work with that developer as he creates his design, is then having the input. Rather than, I don't think we want them to help us make the decision which one. I think it'd be more important to have them help us guide the person we pick to give them what they'd like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess, Tom, with your background in this, how have you seen other communities? I just want to make sure that we're not, I don't know, being seen as like trying to hide anything or whatever. Right. I've had people ask me about what the update is and why have we not been saying anything. And so I want to just make sure it's.
Yeah. So just to answer your first question, how have I seen this approached? The redevelopment plan itself is clear with respect to what's called the planning program. So how much public space, how much retail, how much residential, all that sort of stuff. What I've seen happen and what I would encourage here is that when we go and name a redeveloper, we're going to do it on the basis of their willingness to build according to the program. So all that space and their ability to do it. But then one of the requirements we would have is that they conduct what planners call a charrette, which is basically a design workshop to say, did we get the colors right? Did we get the exact architecture right? Did we get the placement of things right? And we have public input that's very specific and very well guided in terms of like all the design elements. And so we would ask that be included in how they go about putting the final touches on a plan. But I think as far as public input with respect to the program, that happened when we adopted our ordinances and did the redevelopment designation where we said, what are the allowable uses here?
Okay, good. All right, great. Thank you.
So now we are up to your report.
Sure. Well, very exciting stuff. We are opening Borough Hall in a construction and zoning office on Thursday. Tomorrow there'll be a Facebook post and social media post that provide some guidelines for how we're going to do this, but I personally am excited to welcome people back to Borough Hall and to meet them and serve them there.
Can I just interrupt and ask, does that mean we'll be having council meetings in person in the future, or we're still going to do this with Zoom?
I think until September, we said, yes?
Right. So I didn't announce that. I was just explaining in the announcement that you can come to the tax assessor's office, tax collector's office, construction and zoning offices. And if you want to meet with a department head, how you go about doing that, but you could do it in person if you'd like. We are milling and paving is now underway on the 8 roads that were identified in the capital bond, and weather permitting, that will be done by the 19th. The oil drums that someone abandoned at the Charlotte Hill open space area have been removed, and in our conversations with our environmental insurance carrier, we anticipate that all the disposal costs will be covered under our policy. And then one last thing, Chief Miller reached out to me today, and he is working on his plans to proceed with the new fire truck, as was included in the capital bond. But he asked if I would request council to pass a motion to allow the CFO to sign on with the what's called the Houston Galveston Co-op. It's a national pricing and purchasing cooperative, and it's an increasingly popular way of fire departments to get vehicles at good prices. But there is a pricing incentive to get this done sooner rather than later. So I discussed it with Leslie, and she'd be comfortable with that. She's researched this and is on board.
So the state will allow us to use that co-op? Sometimes they don't always approve.
According to our QPA and our CFO, yes.
Good. Sounds good.
Okay. And I might have 2 other things, but I'm going to give council members a chance to mention them during their committee reports.
Do we need to do a resolution for accepting the whatever?
Yeah, if you could do a motion that authorizes the CFO to sign the paperwork to join the Houston Galveston Co-op, we'll have a formal resolution on next time to memorialize it.
So we need to do it tonight then, or?
Yeah, well, yes, that'd be
Be
great.
better.
Okay, so I'll move.
That's resolution 21-153, whatever Tom said, right?
Yeah.
I'll second.
We had a second. Was that John?
Yeah, John.
Roll call.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. McCready?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Ms. Zamara?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to accept the departmental monthly reports?
I'll move
I'll
to
move.
accept the monthly reports.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No? Okay. Public safety, John
Did not meet.
did not meet. Okay.
No.
Mayor, I have a few things I'd like to add on there.
Sure. Yes.
Go on, Ed.
Go ahead.
Trying to get my video on here. Yeah, so just 2 things where I wanted to note. One, their National Night Out is going to be on August 3rd this year. We're going to do it at the Polo Grounds. We're not going to do a pool party per se, but we are moving our activities up to the area of the turf field in the Polo Grounds. We're going to have a family-friendly movie. We're going to have involvement from different community service organizations, and businesses are going to have an opportunity to participate like they have in the past. We'll have refreshments, ice cream, the Lions Club will be there, and we'll have a display of emergency vehicles. It is a free event. It's a family fun event. We're going to try to do this, obviously as safely as we possibly can under the given circumstances, we're watching the COVID pandemic closely to see if there's any modifications that need to be made. But it'll be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to getting together again with members of our community. We had to cancel last year. It's always been a fun, successful event for everybody who attended, and just want to invite everybody from council and the community to be there. Keep your eyes peeled to our Facebook pages and our website, and some press releases that we have coming out about more information. Again, that's August 3rd. It's I think it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday evening in August, and there'll be more
Tuesday.
Be more coming out about that. The other thing that I just wanted to mention was, unfortunately over the weekend, we had 3 more vehicle thefts that took place, and I think another 4 or 5 vehicles were broken into. Some of them had, personal property that was removed from the interior, some valuable property. In all the cases, again, the vehicles were unlocked. The vehicles that were stolen, the keys were in the vehicle. Fortunately, through our investigation, we were able to recover 2 of the 3 stolen vehicles on Saturday in Newark. We still have a 3rd vehicle that's out there again. But I can't stress enough the importance of, residents locking their vehicles at night, removing their valuables, and please, if you see something that's not normal in your neighborhood that you think is suspicious, call us. So many times, when we're investigating and knocking on doors later, we find out that, well, I saw a vehicle out there, but I didn't want to bother you, or I didn't really think anything of it at 2 o'clock in the morning. We need to be notified when you observe this activity. We're also going to be looking into, again, running a neighborhood watch program for any neighborhoods or residents that are interested. It'll be happening later this summer, where we can train our residents how to detect, spot, and report suspicious activity that might be going on in their neighborhoods. You'll get a sign for your neighborhood that will indicate that your neighborhood's involved in the program, that hopefully would serve as somewhat of a deterrent to any would-be thieves who might come into your neighborhood. But, we're not the only community dealing with this right now. Berners Township had some recent incidents as well. Around us, communities around us continue to deal with this. The weather is nice, it's warm, the climate is ripe for this kind of crime to take place right now. Between the spring and the fall, we see an increase in these kinds of crimes, and we really need to inform our residents to please be alert. If you see something, say something. Don't be afraid to call us, lock your doors, and take your keys in. It'd make a big difference. They're not forcing their way into any of these vehicles. They're only going to unlocked vehicles. We haven't had a forced vehicle entry in I don't know how long. They're not making any noise. They don't want to be detected. There's no need to force their way into vehicles. They seem to have plenty to pick from, where there's just an invitation to enter into their vehicles. So I just wanted to emphasize that for everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chief. I think it's important to keep getting that message out. And I know the previous National Night Out that you've had, they have been very successful. People really enjoy them. It's really worth attending. So if you haven't been to one, they're really worth going to. Thank you for putting it all together.
No, it's a lot of hard work from various different members of the police department. We have some great volunteers from the community. Downtown Bernardsville helps us out. A lot of our businesses help us out as well. Makes it a success. And I just wanted to add one more thing. There was some questions about the crosswalk at 202 in Depot Place. We did discuss it at our last public safety meeting, and I've reported back to the DOT. They did get back to us with a plan for a crosswalk at Depot Place in 202 in the area of the train station, finally. So, we did discuss it at the committee meeting, and we felt that the plan was acceptable. There's no major action that needs to be taken on our part. I just wanted to let you know that we've informed them that we approved of their plan, and they can't get it in here quick enough as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to hear back from them on that as well.
That'll be a great improvement. Yeah, terrific. Thank you.
Okay,
I was going to ask if you heard on timing, but I'm assuming by your last comment, no, you haven't.
No, I haven't. But once they get the engineering plan together, they'll be able to go. It's not any structural improvements. They have to restripe some parking areas and put the new crosswalk in, but there's no sidewalk or curb construction that needs to be done the way they laid it out this time. So hopefully it'll be easier than some previous ideas and plans that were discussed.
Right. And we won't lose any parking spots either.
No, yeah, no, that's good. They've shifted, moved some stuff around, but we will not be losing any parking.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Finance, I don't know if they've met. No finance.
Well, we will need a new chairperson, but no, there hasn't been a meeting.
I appointed Chad.
Congratulations, Chad.
And I put myself
it
on.
was a surprise to me, and I guess I'm honored.
Well, I would have get, John has been on there longer, but he's chair of public safety.
That's
so
fine. You know, I'm happy to do it.
And I will replace the third person until the end of the year, just because it's just, doesn't make sense to have somebody jump in midway. Okay. Organizational development and personnel.
We have not met in July, and we made our report at the June 28th meeting. So other than the police rules and regulations that we discussed, there's nothing new.
Okay, thank you. Public Works.
Same as personnel. We met and gave our output the end of June, haven't met since.
Yeah, well, this is, we're only 2 weeks. It's our only meeting. Normally this would be later in the month. So this meeting. Land use did not meet. Any liaison reports?
I'll punt to Johanna on Shade Tree. She should be ready for this. It's every time.
They haven't met.
I am. I'm always happy to do, but we have not met. We're reorganizing a bit.
Yeah, I saw a lot of correspondence. I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to report on officially.
Yeah, what we had Dennis Galway, you appointed him as chair with Macy Laffey as vice chair. And so they are just, Anthony has set up a call meeting. So I think the 21st is.
Yes, the 21st, regular time, 8:30. And then we'll think about it another time slot.
It's getting them back up since they lost a chairperson. Anybody else have committee meetings? Probably haven't met yet this early in the month, but.
Yeah, and our last planning board was canceled on Thursday.
Okay. I don't think we had, did we have any we do have correspondence. The MS County.
Mayor, sorry, before we move up the committee reports, the land use committee, will they be coming forward with a recommendation for a redeveloper, or are we all just going to talk together?
No, we're all just going to talk together.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're not going, probably because land use was just the 2 council people and Chris Colley, Tom, and Joe DeMarco. So at this point, I think we're all going to just meet at that executive session and hash it out.
Okay.
So the 2021 bike, we don't need to do anything with that, right? Because they're just notifying us they'll be on our street.
Right. Yeah, they're just going to pass through the streets. They'll work with the police department and give us insurance and sign a hold harmless. It's just for information only.
Okay, thank you. They do that every year, don't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Yeah.
We had a proposal from John Donahue for the fall cyclocross series.
Yeah, I just wanted the council's okay. So we had a really good spring. Definitely a proof of concept. The 271 Minebrook's great for this. We got great feedback from the riding community. And we grossed up $1,700 for rec, which is kind of cool. We've learned a lot. So what we want to do is kind of upscale it a bit. Go on. I talked to Bob about this earlier, pending your guys okay. Use Bike Reg, which is a platform anyone looking for bike races goes to, and this would lead into a training series leading into the proper, like a statewide series that happens. Yeah, so we've got a great idea. Things are okay, and Trek is back on board and in full support of us. So, just hopefully you guys are okay with what we did, and we're going to do it again in the fall.
Yeah, and I think Bob was also going to run it past the recreation committee.
Yeah, it's the only difference. We were able to borrow stuff from the NJ Bicycling Association for the the plastic fence posts that we use for the course lining. We'd ask the county, maybe the borough to buy them for us because we're going to have to give them back because they're already spoken for on an annual basis. They're about $1.99 each. You probably need 300. And, you know, if we can pull it off like we think we can, you know, we could probably bring in about $4,000 for, you know, into revenues. So it'll pay for itself and then some.
Yeah. The trailer that's over there, is that cyclocross stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get rid of it. I just, you know, not get rid of it. Just I'll get it back to the guy. Just gotta coordinate with him. He's traveling right now, so
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that
I'll
was.
get a friend of mine who helped me get it up here. We'll get it out. So don't worry about that.
Okay. All right. Is everyone okay with this continuing the cyclocross?
Yeah, that's good. I've heard all great things. I haven't been able
Yeah.
to get over there myself, but I've heard all good things. So great job, John.
Yeah.
Definitely was well accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we did some barbecues and some community night and got a, you know, junior mountain bike team out there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Good.
Do we have numbers as far as how many Burnsville residents do it and how many people are not from town?
You could probably get that from Bob. He ran the registrations. Mostly out of towners, I'd say, because it's kind of a niche sport, and you know, it'd be awesome if they all came from Bernardsville. But nice to have people visiting our town.
Hopefully they stayed and had dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the hook, you know, because definitely going to work that more in now that we figured out sort of the logistics of it. Definitely work in some more cross selling if we can with local business.
Yeah. Do we have any unfinished business? How about new business? Nope. Okay. I will open up the second open session for the public. If anyone from the public would like to be heard, 3-minute limit, give your name and address, and either raise your hand, in the reactions, where you can put your hand up or unmute yourself and wave at us. Would anyone like to be heard?
Olivia is up.
Giving her hand. Okay.
My hand is up. Hi. Olivia Manning, 13 Orchard Street. Speaking really on behalf of downtown Burnsville, obviously. Further to Gina's comment earlier about the Quimby Lane project and the communication with the developers, I just wanted to offer that we are clearly out there in the community. So if there's anything that we can do to help with whatever needs to be done, I mean, I understand how difficult it is to involve the community in areas where too many voices sometimes hinder progress, right? So I understand that wholeheartedly, but if there are any things that we can do to help that process at any one point. So if, for example, a developer is chosen and they want to hold some sort of community meeting, we're happy to help offer a special community meeting, not in conjunction with ours, because we've come into the challenge of being the ones that people always contact about this project. Obviously, since we are aptly named Downtown Burnsville, and this is also a Downtown Burnsville revitalization project. So, you know, but still along those lines, you know, whatever we can do to help make sure the gap is bridged between the community and what's going on, whether it's this or even anything else, you know, obviously we're happy to do that. We do have resources available to do that. So I just wanted to offer that out there, and, you know, if there's anything we can do, just obviously reach out. That's all.
Thank you. That would be great. If you can get Harvey to let us use the theater, that'd be terrific. To have a charrette.
No, I really don't know if that's a good idea, because that might not be enough room.
Enough room, really?
Mm-hmm. Even in the big theater. I mean, I don't know. It depends, honestly. I mean, I think a lot of people have a lot of things to say, clearly, as we know. But, you know, we just have to be open to the idea that a lot of people are going to want to say something.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah. And if you can help us promote things, that would be wonderful to make sure people are aware of it. That's what she does.
That's what I do best. As we all know, I can fill a room. So happy to help.
Thanks, Olivia.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else from the public like to be heard? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll move to go to close. I'll second either one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will be coming back out to then appoint our new council person. So public, if you want to hang around, hopefully that won't take too long. And we'll be back.